Okay, let's just get this show on the road. As the saying goes. I don't like what I've just done. Hopefully I haven't. Very unprofessional, though, boy. Very unprofessional. Good morning. Icubian Organis at your service. I'm going to entitle this video a further indulging into the Enlightenment, or just diving into the Enlightenment, or what I've got from what can we take from the Enlightenment, and where are we now? Yeah, something like that. Because I'm not quite sure people get it. But mind you, from what I can see, only one person's watched my last video. So it's either I'm not communicating very well, I am not using materials and slide presentations, it's coming over boring, or as YouTube does do, they put back the counter when things are popular. I'm not saying I'm popular, but they do put back the counter. They've done it many times before, and I can give you countless examples. But as per usual, I've bought a stack of books to make my case or my argument today. It's a pity that I'm restricted by my identity, but I've got the wrong book. What did I bring that for? What? How did that get there? Anyway, so just going to recap. I have termed this the new society that was the United Kingdom that emerges from a great schism. It's the Industrial Revolution preceded by the Reformation. A new look at the Bible, an interpretation of the Bible. A new Bible is printed. The Gutenberg press is the internet of the day. It's gone viral. England have considered their position. Henry VIII has said, well, I'm down with this. And that chick too. She likes that book and I like her. So from that moment, England ceased to be a Catholic realm and now became a Protestant realm. Okay, a Christian realm, as is understood. And there's a book over there, William Paley. So whilst, and you've got to understand, well, you don't have to understand. This is why this terra firma is great real estate. There's a physical trinity took place for human beings. It's freedom from tyranny in that we are now able to own a Bible and to question the Bible. And it's come under great scrutiny. It comes under great scrutiny now. There's never a week at Hyde Park Corner that Muslims aren't challenging Christianity about the scripture and so forth. I'm sorry that they misunderstand, but they do believe that they have a solid case, and on the surface, it looks like they have a solid case. It depends on who they argue with and what they're arguing about. But make no mistake about it, this is a Christian country. Oh yeah, but, you know, hardly, a new survey said only 20% of people going to church nowadays. Listen, my friend, you are here on this planet by virtue of the fact that a man and woman came together. Whether they're in your life or not, whether they're good parents or not, it's a fact. I've just told you something that's a fact. Whether they're adhering to church or whatever, that's neither here nor there. That's the rules of this country. It's a Christian country, and the Christian country will open its doors to everybody. That doesn't per se make it secular. It means here is a realm where you can rest your head. But it doesn't give you the right to think that your religion trumps the Christian faith. It does not. In fact, in terms of the Premier League, yours is at the bottom. Get used to it or leave. Go where your religion is, right? Now, you might think I'm a Christian defending it. No, I recognise what's good about it. And that it gives me an opportunity to understand and to teach and a place to lay my head. And I'm not going to throw it down. Not for Satan's trickery. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. But be that as it may, Christian country. And it's been under scrutiny. But the Lord works in mysterious ways, because even though there's people, and there is a bunch of people that can't stand Christianity. John 8:44. Jesus spoke about them in the Bible. They asked for Jesus' death, and they said, on our heads and our children's head be it. You know what I mean? They are determined. They don't like Christianity. They don't like God. They don't like monotheism. They don't like you not putting them front and center in your life. You have to you've got to believe like they do. Right? They're not satisfied unless you believe like they do. And once you believe like they do, they want you to worship them. Okay? They want you to leave God alone and worship them. And we should go into that. So this is where the battle is. And this is what we call high science and spiritual places. Well, the high sciences are in action. And where best to have the high sciences in action would be your university. And this is where the rubber meets the road. The university is a breeding ground for alternative thoughts to be implanted into the mind of young people who are going to be adult people, who are going to be qualified people in positions of power. With a certain mindset, then they will take that certain mindset and make policy. With that certain mindset, they're going to impose stricture upon you and your children and your progeny that makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not meant to make sense. Now, I've just explained who hates Christianity. In the last video, I spoke to you about Karl Marx, and I showed you the books. Him anti-God, anti-Christian, racist. And I actually went through part of the Communist Manifesto. And this is the preamble to the Communist Manifesto. And in this text, as I explained to you before, if you haven't seen it, go and watch the videos. And start from the beginning. Okay? So you can see warts and all, mistakes as well. Ultimately, it wants to get rid of morality. Okay? It doesn't like religion. Of course, it wants you to worship. And this is communism. This is the communistic form of socialism. I explained to you about Robert Owen, who they call it utopian socialism, but it was working. It was nothing utopian about it. It took no lives. It didn't kill anybody. Didn't starve anybody, mass starve anybody. It didn't say kick your religion to the curb or anything. It was viable. It was working. Okay? Of course, infiltrators will try to undermine everything you've got. If you don't know what you're talking about, or you're in a place where you think you've got allies, people will always try to bring you down. Every movement we've known, there are people who are paid to undermine your efforts. And I would say there was no different there. In fact, it can be argued that the socialism that was worked out by Gentiles, Charles Fourier, Victor Prosper Considerant, Robert Owen, all before Karl Marx comes and hijacks some and then puts in his own twist, which is anti-everything that you want. Well, he thought that there'll be during this industrial revolution that the proletariat will rise up, the workers of the factories will rise up and take over the factories and throw out the owners of the factories. That sounds like theft. That's revolution. He wanted a violent revolution. But because he doesn't understand the human being, God's children, and that relationship, the spirituality that man has with the Creator, and the fact that man is fair within himself. I will work. I expect to get paid. I will engage in a contract with you, and it's goods and services. It makes perfect sense. It does make sense. Do you know what I mean? And Marx doesn't like it. And the reason why Marx doesn't like it is because from the old world, as he speaks about in the Communist Manifesto preamble, to the new world, this is new. They want a grip. They see themselves losing. They're losing out here, you know? And they're scrambling. First of all, they're attacking the Bible. And they're twisting the Bible. We've got Spinoza. You've got Jean Calvin, right? They call him John Calvin, but Calvin was one of these people who's going to interpret the Bible a different way, right? You've got, at the same time, you've got Nostradamus, who happens to be one of them, again, uttering nonsenses, anything to get people away, get them away from possible freedom. Don't let them be, because if they be, then we lose, you know what I mean? This is Satan versus God. This is a battle of two entities. One is using the truth will make you free, and the other one saying ban morality, and there's no such thing as any truth. Because what I say is just as valid as what he says. And I've got the bat in my hand and he don't got one. So what I say goes. What am I talking about? Well, the intellectual thinkers who were Marxists were disillusioned when there wasn't a revolution, a violent revolution. It wasn't an overthrow. They love it when it's an overthrow because there's confusion and they seize power. They did that in Russia in 1917 at the Russian Revolution. They call it Russian Revolution, but it was anything but Russian. David Lev Bronstein from New York, he's Jewish. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, they call him Lenin. Again, another name change, Jewish. Vissarionovich Zhugatvili. It's argued that Vissarionovich Zhugatvili might not be Jewish, but he married 3 Jewish women. I think he's Jewish, but that's your man of steel, Stalin. And we can go on, where these people keep changing the names to sound more Gentile, so they can con you into following their thought process, in which they win, you lose. In which they win, you're enslaved. Okay? And they've done that. They've done it in Hungary, they've done it in Russia for 70 years. It's a tragedy. Anyway, a group of their thinkers left, and they congregated in Germany. I say left, I'm not quite sure where they were in the first place. But they congregated in Germany, or they were in Germany first. They called them the Frankfurt School. And they were thinking, well, the plan was great, but it didn't happen. So what is the problem? Well, we've got to get into there. And if we can get into there, then we'll have them. Well, how do we do that? Well, we don't like their religion that much, but if we were to turn around and go anti-God, everything God speaks of that in their Bible, it says it's true, or their Quran, it's true, we just say, there is no truth. And we'll reason it by saying, if you ever read the Communist Manifesto, a man only marries a woman because he wants to make money out of her. There's no idea, there's no concept of love, there's no concept of pride, progeny, family, bonds, relationships, trust, none of that. No, it's just for capitalist money. It's bonkers, and I agree with Bertrand Russell. His word of wrong-headed, I just think he's a dirtbag myself, but there you go. So you got all these thinkers, and I think I've gone for these guys before. Most are Jewish. I think the only one who wasn't, and I'm not quite sure, I haven't done his family tree, is Adorno. He's Italian. Gramsci's one of them. You've got Habermas, Marcuse, Fromm. All of these guys are Jewish. Okay? Lukács, Pollock. You know, all of these names, these are people who are thinking they want to take control. But they want us to think a certain way. And out of the Frankfurt School, they came with a thing called critical theory. Now, critical theory is looking at a system and seeing the flaws in the system. They come up with their own reasons why there's the flaws in the system. And the reason is because the rich abuse the poor, will always abuse the poor because they only care about themselves, right? It's plain and simple, right? Everything has to be because they're rich, they're horrible, the poor, long-suffering, and that's how it's always going to be. And if you want fair play, then what's the idea? Have a violent revolution, kill them, and take what it is. And that doesn't make any sense anyway, because out of those who were to take, if you don't know how to run a factory, if you don't know how to plan and strategize and order and do all the kind of things that producers do, then you've got anarchy, and I suppose you won't know what to do. But they do. And this is why when they had the revolution in Russia, the people at the top were always them. Okay? Pretty much, Germany's kind of a complex situation. Because they did try to overtake Germany in 1905 and they failed. But Germany, Satan's house is the house divided. So you've got Bolsheviks on one side and you've got Zionists on the other. Okay? The Zionists want to do it their way. The Bolsheviks want to do it their way. And they will come to blows because they don't agree. Okay? So for me, Hitler's a Zionist and Stalin is a Bolshevik, and those guys, you know what I mean? They do go to war, 1941, Operation Barbarossa and all that. But we're talking about thinking and high science. And you find that in the universities. But the problem with universities, it's supposed to teach you how to think, to be critical, to analyze, to compare and contrast, and to make argument. And with those skills, write what your findings, critique other people's findings, support other people's findings if you believe it to be true. And if you're a good thinker, you can invent and create or solve problems is what I say. I'm a problem solver, and we've got a problem. Houston, we do got a problem. We've got a problem because we've got a bunch of these people who have been indoctrinated by this school of thought, and they've come up with a concept called critical theory. Out of critical theory comes this. You may not get it. This is called social construction. It's by a chick named Vivian Burr. It's the second edition. She's written it twice, published. There's no mistake here. She meant this, okay? That's how thick it is. Some people might think you just show off. You don't really read these books. You know, they look pristine. Well, no, they're not pristine. Everywhere you go in this book, you'll find notes and pretty much my arguments examining what she's proposing. This one is called An Invitation to Social Construction. Again, second edition. It's by some idiot named Kenneth Gergen. The left celebrate this person. It's second edition. There's no mistake here. He's making money. There's no mistake here, right? He's meant to do this. And they can do this with a straight face and get away with it because 80%, I've showed you the papers before, of university professors in England are left-wing, ergo neo-Marxists. They're of the Frankfurt School and this bonkers thinking. In fact, in this book, more or less near the beginning, she more or less says, you've got common sense, wipe your feet at the door being the beginning of this book. Because now you have to suspend your belief and go into this and buy into it, all right? You have to eat it if you want to pass your exams. And they loaded up the education studies departments full of female. And there's one thing women are good at doing is lying down for everything, right? We men will say, boy, I can't stand that guy over there. He's a gangster, a bully. A woman will lie down for him. Oh, I can't stand that guy. That guy, he's always teeth, isn't he? She will lie down for him. Boy, I heard about him, man. He killed 2 people. She will lie down for him. But if you are trying to build and make something, but you ain't got the materials together yet, you're not successful, you're working hard, she got bad words for you. She select the nasty guys, right? And as it was in the beginning, Adam and Eve. Adam was doing what he was supposed to be doing. He was looking at the flora and fauna, naming, and she was out there gallivanting. And she come back with a belly bang in it and tried to jacket him. In fact, there were 2 children. First, before Seth, and Cain killed Abel. The devil's seed. All right? Be that as it may, you might say it's a metaphor, you might say it's an allegory, you might say whatever it is. Well, it seems to be true to the female, doesn't it? They all come out and say, it's the bad boy they like, it's the bad boy. It's like a repeated record. And they don't learn jack all from it because they're incapable of it. Now, I may say certain things, and I can do, and I'm going to do a show about feminism, which is a lie. And I'm going to do one about IQ, which is going to shock a lot of people. But I'm sorry if you hurt your feelings. This is not the place to kind of like get me to give you a hug and a cuddle. We're long past hugs and cuddles here. You know what I mean? This is about an education. It's about understanding. I need your help. We need your help. We need to wake up. Now, what's the problem with these two books? People can write books if they want to write books, and they can get support if they want to get support. And it just so happens as 80% of lecturers like that stuff, then it gets bought by 80% and they indoctrinate your children. What's the problem with it? It's a book. One's published by Sage, the other one's published by Routledge, both reputable companies. Are they? They seem to promote print this. Well, the problem with it is, they both make the proclamation, there is no such thing as absolute truth. With the straight face. And you have to believe it. And you have to go along with it. And you have to stick to quote it reverentially. And all of the people, I mentioned some of the names, Gramsci's and all of these guys, you got to, revert to what they think. Oh, Gramsci says this. And Hockenheimer would say this. And maybe Michael Foucault, wrong book, but he's here. Michael Foucault sees it this way. And they act like these guys are God. And what they think matters. But what they're trying to do is undo what we already know. You see, the physical Trinity gave us freedom to think and explore. And our science became better science. We don't suppose anything anymore. We now test it to see if what our hypothesis is true. It becomes true once we test it and we say, look, I do this, that happens. They say, really? Yeah, that's the way I did it. You try it. Yeah. It becomes a fact. And well-known facts like humans are babies before they become boys or become men, or humans have 2 legs and 2 arms. They become a priori. What you call priori. In some cases, posteriori. In that it's a fact, we don't need to argue that. We're beyond like 1, 2, yeah, there's 2 legs there. That we call them legs. They're legs, yeah, and those upper things, arms. We're beyond that. We now know it's a given, right? So we call that priori, and sometimes a priori, depending on the context. And so we know how to discover, we know how to test, and the world is our oyster. From that moment, we know there is an absolute truth. We know there is an up, there is a down, there is an in, there is an out, there's a black, there's a white, there's a heavy, there is a light, there is a hot, there is a cold. We know the kind of dichotomies that we have in life, and you could say, well, there's a hot, there's a cold, there's a medium, there's a lukewarm too, there's tepid. Well, yes, but we're talking about the extremes. There are extremes in our dichotomy. There is a left, there is a right, It's part of our life, And so there are absolute truths. There is an absolute truth. They just don't like the absolute truth being the creator. Now, we're talking about the 18th century. We've got a lot going on in the 18th century. And I'm going to tell you what's happening in the 19th century, 1800s. We should get there. Well, Darwin has come up with his idea. Well, a lot of people like Darwin. They like people like Herbert Spencer and de Gobineau and these guys who are kind of race theorists, if you will. I wouldn't say Darwin was a race theorist as that, but I suppose in a way he is. I mean, he's the guy, the noble savage, etc. But, pardon me. He's posited, basically, how does Darwin theory actually go? And where do you actually find Darwin's theory? But the evolutionist theory is that millions of years ago, there was a big explosion, and out of that big explosion, something rained down on the earth. There was a molten lava, and out of the molten lava came a fish-like amphibian, which grew legs, and gradually from that it became a monkey, it became a man, and all the rest of it. And you got the likes of Richard Dawkins running around about, Australopithecus, afarensis. It's our cousin, and you got the Afrocentrics as dumb as dishwater, talking about, oh yeah, Lucy, the first person out of Africa. And I'm like, you people don't read. You don't know when you've been set up. So I don't really take them seriously, you know what I mean? People like Tariq Nasheed, shut your blows on skirt, idiot. 6'5" a tub of lard, idiot. You know what I mean? Absolute disgrace about you making a movie about butt breaking. Yeah, bring the evidence, please. Show me the evidence. I'd like to see that. But let me tell you, the Out of Africa theory is Charles Darwin. Okay? The millions of years ago, that would be his cousin, Charles Lyell, to which Darwin kind of disagreed with. Oh, I could tell you a lot about what Darwin actually wrote, but what difference does it make about what he wrote? Because you're not going to read it to check it for yourself. You never do, right? Otherwise, I think there'll be more people watching the channel. And I'll have more than 7 subscribers. I'm not going to be ashamed because at some point, this is history. It goes down to posterity. Somebody will know that I was working, 1, for free, 2, the truth. I'm supporting myself with factual evidence. Buck stops. Yeah, factual evidence. Now, it's always important if you're going to educate anybody or have a discussion of any meaning at all, that you support it with factual evidence. So, the 19th century is a hotbed of lots of ideas. And Christianity's got theirs as well. William Paley, the Watch on the Heath. You've got Darwin out there saying, oh, from monkey to man, and he's come up with his concept that suppose I were walking on the heath. Call the heath a prairie then. Let's just say a prairie for the American viewers. And I should stumble across a watch. And he's talking about the most sophisticated watches. You know, them ones where you can see the gadgets and all the rest of it. He would suppose that somebody created it. It didn't just fall into place and all of a sudden, voila, there's a watch. I don't know where the Darwin evolution, I don't know where they're coming from. They lie too much. They can't explain what went bang. The whole concept of pretty much what they're saying, out of nothing, something came. And that idiot Lawrence Krauss has written a book, Universe Out of Nothing. Really? Okay. They believe in something out of nothing, but think it's incredulous that there was a creator, an intelligent designer, who designed that watch that you found on the heath. There's loads of grass around, but this is different. Somebody fused these things and welded these things and put these mechanical devices together. It takes intelligence to do that. No. But they'll mention Craig Ventnor, but he made some amino acids. Really? The Miller-Urey experiment, amino acids. All you proved was it would take intelligence to do that. So why are you arguing about the creator and the great creator's intelligence? You ain't going to know anything about the great creator any more than a newborn baby's going to know anything about its parents. That's the state you're in, son. That's the state you're in. But anyway, so we're learning about science. We're learning about ourselves. We know I would argue we know the mechanisms of how we came about. I don't have to be there. I'm putting it together. But there's also a trinity within us as human beings. Now, I put this down. These are my concepts. Now, the trinity I say is, you see me, don't you? You see the mechanical body you see. That's one. It functions. What makes it function? This mind behind here. This mind says, This mind says, oh, I don't know. This mind says, okay. All of it is immaterial unless we come down to the ultimate truth. What's the ultimate truth? I have to make a decision. Good, bad. Okay? It's either going to benefit or it's not going to benefit anybody at all, apart from me maybe, short term. So, this all goes down in what I call the soul, your mind, right? It's the mind that goes through the permutations. And I can go through all the permutations and, I can get lost in the analysis of paralysis. I just can't come to a decision. I just don't know. I really don't know. I don't rightly know. For all you Coronation Street fans out there. But when you do come to a decision, then it's either one or the other. I would say it's your spirit. And your spirit belongs to God, but you can reject it and go with Satan's spirit. It's done every day. people say, I don't like the way he did this, and I'm going to kill him for that. I'm going to rob this. People get frustrated because they think everything must be done in their time. Think baby, think child, think toddler. You know what I mean? Not getting into the throw a tantrum. Big people, when they throw a tantrum, other people get hurt. But anyway, so that's the Trinity, right? Your body, mind, and spirit, okay? That's the way I see it. But we need to know something else about